God knows I've failed many times to be a perfect guy. And God knows how I failed, no matter how hard I tried. But I promise, I swear, that I'd always be there when you need me. Anytime that I can, I will hold up my hand. Please believe, not every man is a hero, not every father's a king, but my love for you will last a lifetime in these words that I sing. And if it takes until forever, I hope one day you'll understand. In your eyes I saw the reason to be a better man. Yeah, my world became just perfect because of you. Because of you. Because of you. And when the curtain comes down on my lifetime, and when I sing my final song, say my last goodbye, I will look back with pride at the girls by my side and smile for the love that you gave till my very last day. Set me free. Not every man is a hero, not every father's a king, but my love for you will last a lifetime in the words that I sing. And if it takes until forever, I hope one day you'll understand. In your eyes, yeah, I saw a reason to be a better man. My world became just perfect because of you. Because of you. Because of you. Not every man is a hero, not every father's a king, but my love for you will last a lifetime in these words that I say. And if it takes until forever, I hope one day you'll understand. In your eyes I saw the reason to be a better man. Not every man is a hero, not every father's a king, but my love for you will last a lifetime in these words that I sing. You made my world just perfect. You made my world just perfect. Yeah, you made my world just perfect. Thank you. Thank you. My days, jij die bob out. Fy arglwydd ddiw daw heddodd dyner lais o nefol rhyw. Mae deisiau di bob awr trwy gyda mi. Cyll temptasiynau grym yn dymyl dydd. Mae deisiau, o mae deisiau bob awr. Mae arnaf deisiau bendith a fi fy ngheidwad bendith a nawr. Mae deisiau di bob awr rodolau clir ro i minerth a blas dy eiriau gwir. Mae deisiau di bob awr sancteiddiau fri yn Iesu gna fi wir yn eiddo ti. Mae deisiau, o mae deisiau bob awr. Mae arnaf deisiau bendith a fi fy ngheidwad bendith a nawr. Mae dy eisiau, 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 o mae dy eisiau bob awr. Mae arnaf deisiau bendith a fi fy ngheidwad bendith a nawr. Mae dy eisiau, o mae dy eisiau bob awr. Mae arnaf deisiau bendith a fi fy ngheidwad bendith a nawr. Mae dy eisiau. Mama tried to send me to a boarding school, 'cause she just didn't know what to do. With my no good stinking attitude, she tried to send me away. Hey, hey, Daddy tried to send me too. Said I was just a stupid big ass fool. So before they lost their cool, they phoned the school and tried to take me away. But hey, but they didn't have the money to send me away. They didn't have the dough to make me go, so I had to stay. No, they didn't have the tried to send me to my nan, who lived in a broken down caravan. There I lived a simple gypsy life, selling heather all day. Then she read my lazy workless palm and said, a boy, it wouldn't do you no harm to pick up that old guitar and learn to play. Now go away, but they didn't have the money to send me away. They didn't have the dough to make me go, so I had to stay. No, they didn't have the money, so listen to my tale. Well, if you can't afford a punk ass kid, you better put your cha-cha away. Guitar! So they sent me to my non and pop, who lived above a little corner shop. And there I sat upon the countertop, eating candy all day. And playing something after all the stuff. My granddaddy said, you're gonna make me poor. So they packed up all my stuff, which honestly ain't that much anyway, and sent me away. But they didn't have the money to send me away. They didn't have the dough to make me go, so I had to stay. No, they didn't have the money, so listen to my tale. Well, if you can't afford a punk ass kid, you better put your cha-cha away. No, they didn't have the money.
Hello and welcome back to the semi-finals of Welsh Esports League. I am Golimolu, joined by Cheka once again, our returning friend from last week, and we have one of our semi-final games for you this evening. It is going to be the Goats taking on the Pit Ponies in a best of 3. So it's the first time this season both of these teams will have to play a slightly longer series, and it will of course be an elimination with the winner making their way towards our grand final one step closer to victory. Pachaka, how are you doing this evening? Are you looking forward to the first best of 3 of the Welsh Esports League Rainbow Six Siege Season 5?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. It's the first round of playoffs here for the Welsh Esports League, so it's going to be an exciting time for both teams. And on the other side of the bracket, you do have, if I can pull it up really quickly, the Red Kites versus the Wounds, or the Hounds. I'm just going to say the Hounds because it just sounds a lot better to me. So it's an exciting day to start playoffs. It's an exciting day for the Welsh Esports League. And we're done with groups. So, we're one round away from going straight to the grand finals. And I can't really think of a better matchup to cover than a team that we've both already casted together and a team that's completely unknown to me.
Yeah, the Goats, we saw, well, not we, obviously, it was with Conch on week number 1 and looked very, very good. And I think we kind of discussed that the Goats were going to be our favorites for this season. They're a team coming in who had a couple of their players from last season. They brought in a couple others who were familiar with some of the highlights from last season's R6 team. So together they've looked a lot more cohesive than in past seasons. And I think that's really benefited them coming in. And so I think it will be a difficult game for the Pit Ponies. Obviously, we saw them last week, Checkham. We saw them have a couple struggles on Chalet. Obviously, that is not a map that's going to be returning this week. We do have our veto, and we're going for Clubhouse first, which I think is a nice balanced middle ground for these teams to start on. Border, and then into Bank.
Yeah, and I think going into Border, I think Pit Ponies will like this map slightly more because the last time that we both watched them play, the biggest issue that I had with Pit Ponies or that Pit Ponies had themselves was they weren't really as coordinated as they probably should have been on in their game on Chalet against the Red Kites, who were a lot more put together than the Pit Ponies were. So I think Border is going to benefit them a lot more. Clubhouse, I'm not too sure how that will go because again, Pit Ponies did have a lot of issues with coordination, and I haven't seen the Goats play, so
Hmm.
I'm going into that match completely unknown, which is ironic because it's Clubhouse.
Yeah, it will make it quite an interesting start to our series, and I think it will, like you mentioned, give us that good feeler for how it's gonna go throughout the day, especially with it being that fundamental map. I have to say, I'm a little concerned for the Pit Ponies if we hit Border. I appreciate that, what it does. It allows them to play a little bit more individualistically, try and play for some kills, try and get quite aggressive into the Goats, but they're a team that have shown they have quite a few gunners across their roster, and I'm nervous for what that might mean if you give the Goats an opportunity to get right up in your face and really just go for those gunfights. So, at the very least, it will be a very interesting second map following on from whatever comes out of Clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, Clubhouse can also be a map that's really aggressive and right in your face, especially on like certain sites. Like for Clubhouse specifically, for the basement site, you can go upstairs and roam very heavily and be aggressive, waste time, take gunfights. For CCTV and Cash, you have an extension into Garage where you can be aggressive, take gunfights, disrupt the push, or even take gunfights in bottom Garage, but also taking
Yeah.
fights onto the platform player as well, and having that nice security from the Raptors position, especially if the attack aren't necessarily prepared with their utility to encounter a garage take while also taking from the platform wall too. So Clubhouse can also play into like a gunfight heavy meta, and so can Bank as well. So you know while I do think that pit ponies do have some good individual players, if what you said comes to life for the goats, it could prove a real big issue for pit ponies coming into this best of three.
Yeah, but again, we'll have to see. I'm excited. I'm a Clubhouse player, and I think it has changed up quite a bit recently, right? Clubhouse. Obviously, we're seeing the fall off in cash server. Doesn't mean we didn't see it last on week number one. We did see in the Goats game on Clubhouse that there was sort of a tendency to lean in towards it. They actually double picked them, but they lost it, ran it back a second time, were able to win it out the second time. And the first ban is going to come through, Chucker. It's going to be that Montaigne, which is something that it's become so normal these days.
Yeah, Monty's pretty effective for garage takes. He can also be pretty effective when like pushing down the main stairs, going for hatch drops for a basement execute, or even just going down into dirt for dirt pushes for a basement, which is what he's probably most popular on next to going up and taking rafters all by himself, using the shield to apply pressure. And because of the buff that happened to the shields a while back, he's become a lot more effective. Dokkaebi is not really a big surprise, and neither is Fenrir because like of the many entry points that you have on this map, if you have both a Fenrir and a Melusi available to you, and especially Melusi getting her 4 banshees, you can lock down every single entry point with both of those operators.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure how the Malusi's been enabled to get to this position. We had a
Yeah.
potential rehost on the cards, but it's been resolved. The tab was muted. The game had zero audio. So I mean, at least we don't have to take a pause away from the action, right? We can just keep on rolling. But always nice to know that esports players they haven't changed over the years, have they? Still always causing trouble for us. But round number one, Goat starting out on the attack, and the lineup looks pretty standard. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Obviously, the double hard breach pairing both the Thermite and the Hibana. But it's the defensive lineup. It's that dock that they're bringing out. Now, on a rafters, I could maybe see it, right? Try and hold onto your position. On gym bedroom, what are you trying to play that for?
Probably for an extension towards like cash and CCTV. If you're not gonna play Raptors directly, which I'm pretty sure they aren't, but if they are, I mean the dock is a really good operator to play the Raptors position in, and you place somebody on the red stairs, or you can place the dock on the red stairs instead with the shield behind him, and then he can just play that power position for as long as he possibly can, wasting a lot of time for the GOATs on the attack, and that may just be what Pit Pony's game plan is for this matchup from the GOATs. Like you said, because of the entry game from the GOATs and how good some of their gunners are, they may be looking to push the pace at times. And Pit Ponies, with their operator lineup, not only did they bring the dock to waste a lot of time and to suck up a lot of and to have like a good bullet sponge on their lineup, but you also have the Azami, you had a Mira. I think I did see a Malusi in the lineup for Pit Ponies, so they might just be looking to waste as much time as possible.
This is a throwback. I miss the good old days. I had a mate, right, who his PC was kind of terrible, but just because he had it before all the rest of us, right? And whenever one of our friends would rage quit, which happened a lot, admittedly, he had a very short fuse on his temper. Get injured, Alt F4. In between rounds, we'd have to. My mate would have to open up Google Chrome tabs, and he'd open up like 30 tabs, and it would stall out his loading for so long because his PC became so slow with all the tabs open that he could hold a game for like 5 minutes while someone rebooted the game. Unironically, could hold a lobby for 5 minutes, and we've got a similar issue arising trying to get the game sorted out. So we're gonna jump back to our faces, but I mean, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that.
No, you know what? A common issue that happens is they mentioned RAM. I don't think RAM is the issue. I'm pretty sure somebody just downloaded the game on their HDD, and so now it's just like you can't do that with Siege. It's an online game. You just have to download it on your SSD. The load times will be faster. I promise you, it's a game changer to have some of these bigger games on your SSD. And take it from somebody who's gamed on an HDD for like a good chunk of my PC career. So like that's just common sense I
Yeah,
fear. But anyways, yeah,
that's
it's
the
just
that's the advice I was given by my cousin when I built my PC. Was just don't worry about a hard drive for now. Get an SSD and just put everything on it for the time being, and then when you can, just get like a terabyte hard drive and then just move everything across. I will say, I had a really big issue with Jedi Fallen Order. Sorry, the first one. I got like, it's like I think the game's like 20 hours long. Anyway, I got like 2 hours from the end of the game, and then my save crashed. My save got corrupted on Origin. I was like, okay, well that's not very cool. I played it again. I got 15 hours in, so a little bit behind where I was before, and that's when I got my hard drive. And I moved all my hard drive, like all my files of like Origin and like certain games that like weren't online games basically, onto my hard drive. I didn't move Fallen Order, but the save files still got corrupted. So I lost my save file again. So in a 20-hour game, like long game, I put like 37 hours or something stupid in, and still have not completed it to this day because I've just like, it's so hard. Like I know the ending, I know what happens, and like I got this close to that final ending, to the fight at the end. I was just like, you know what? Oh, we'll call it quits. Like we'll get to it someday. Someday I'll return and take it on, but it's hard to find the time to sit down and play single player games. Like I played Last of Us last Easter, and I had to like sit down and like playing a game on a console. Like I don't know what it is. I can play a single player game on a console. Like I get home at night. It'd be like 11 o'clock. I'd I'd just like go into my room when it freed up, like, our front room when it like freed up from my family using it. Built the PlayStation, bash out 3 hours of Last of Us. Man, that game's stunning. But yeah, I need to do that more. Single player games, they're very good sometimes.
PlayStation exclusives are also just like way ahead of their times. Like God of War, The Last of
Yeah,
Us, Beyond Two Souls. Like, gosh,
there's some good
I had,
ones.
yeah, I remember when it was a long time ago. I also played a lot of PlayStation because,
Mm.
well, money was an issue, and so PlayStation 3, obviously, you didn't have to
Oh, what
pay
a
for
console!
online. Yeah, you didn't have to pay for online. That doesn't mean that the servers were good, but like you still didn't have to pay it. They were good enough for what we were
Oh
given,
yeah,
anyways.
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, like I remember I used to always have to and then I got a PlayStation 4 because I could
Mm.
at least afford to pay online for myself. I used to always beg my mom to when I had a PlayStation 3 to always cuz Redbox was a thing, so you get to rent games and stuff like that. And I
Mm.
used to my mom would always take me to rent games, and specifically one of those games was like, I think it was Spider-Man, like where you get to like you have multiple universes. Like there was
Okay.
the Nor version. You like there was a Spider Pig at one point, and then also Beyond Two Souls was a game that I never finished to this day, but I still really liked it when I was younger because of all the
So good.
choices you got to make. It's so chaotic, especially like the one party where you had in that house party where those teenagers were being just absolute buttholes, and so you could like just destroy everything with Aiden, and it was like, well, that's nice. I'm glad I got that off my chest. But yeah,
I've been like the temptation of a PS5 just because of some of the games that are on that is like really high. But I'm like,
Rise of the Ronin. Yep.
can't justify it. Can't justify it. It's because like they were so expensive on launch, just unnecessarily so expensive on launch. Yeah, whoever cooked that up at Sony, not the one. I appreciate the attempt to try and like drive this false scarcity. Just give people a console, guys. Like when did the PS5 when did the PS5 come out? Like 2017, 2018? Something like that? Like it was like Christmas 2017?
Like,
Oh,
really? No, it said, okay, no. Maybe
am
you're
I just
right.
like
It says like 2020, 2021.
oh, okay, so not nearly as old. No shot, it's only 2020.
Probably
Fair
not.
enough.
That surprises me too.
That can't be right. But like I'm just thinking like how many CODs have we because the last COD that was on PS3 was Ghosts. Right? Like that didn't come out on PS4. That was the last COD before the PS4, I think. I haven't really played a COD since Black Ops 2, so I could be off on this. When did PS4, PS5, sorry, come out?
I like how this is
November
turned from
2020.
the Esports World Cup,
Just
the
a ramble
Esports,
sesh.
yeah, Welsh Esports League playoffs, and then people are like, oh, goody, let's tune in and see like how my favorite Welsh universities are doing.
It's
They're
just
not
us
doing
rambling about
because we're not in
consoles.
game. Yeah, like we're
Yeah,
just
we are
you
going to get to the
just
game, but we just figured, it's more fun to hear us ramble. We're going to be rambling anyway. Just, just might as well bring you in on the conversation, bring you into the fold. But yeah, either way, it's like, I don't know, I feel like the PS4's been out for quite a while now. The PS5, sorry, has been out for quite a while now, and it's still not very, like, normal to, like, it's not like the PS4 where everyone picked up a PS4, right? Like, everyone made the
oh
move
yeah.
from PS3 to 4, and they just haven't done that because they kind of couldn't. I think that's just kind of insane. Kind of insane that they've gone that way about it. But I
I
don't know. I
have
think like yeah, go shoot.
I was gonna say I had many good memories of the PS4. Like even on the first day that I got it, like I used to play. I'm sorry, I'm gonna call it soccer because that's what I'm gonna call it, anyways.
Ugh.
When I used to like play, like I used to be obsessed with like soccer when I was like younger, and
Football.
I used to play it a lot. Anyways, soccer. I used to play it a lot, and my mom always knew that I was like very obsessed with it.
Mm.
So, my uncle also knew too. He gave me like when the PS4 came out, FIFA 15 was like very hot and new. He gave me like FIFA 10 and FIFA 12 for the PlayStation 3 because
Yeah.
well he got those games at like a really cutthroat price, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, I'll just play these games. And I fell in love with FIFA 12,
FIFA 12
especially
such a
like
good one.
oh yeah, I mean like the player career mode was so good to me. I really liked
Fantastic.
it. And then like you couldn't really make like a new character unless you like wiped every single one of your save files. That was the thing. But
Yeah.
I remember when I got like the PS4, my mom gave me like FIFA 15 with it. And it was on Christmas too, so that made everything so much more magical, and I fell in love with it. And then going from FIFA 15 to what we have now in FIFA, I haven't bought FIFA in so long, but like, yeah, there's a reason
I
why. But like,
FIFA 12 was peak. Like
FIFA
there's
12 was
no way
great.
it was
FIFA
so
Street,
good.
woo,
Oh,
I love
I never
FIFA
played
Street.
FIFA Street. I think I played it like
Really?
a mate's on like a sleepover, and that's like it. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate it. It was probably a banger. I never played it.
I loved it. Freestyle moves and everything. I thought like the acrobatic moves that you could do was like so good. I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah. it's a very, very cool game. See, like, okay, so you're trying to producer put a message on the side saying, when are the games coming out for the PS5? And this is the exact issue. Hold on. What? The issue is that, like, because 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 we just, like, weren't able to fully move from the 4 to the 5, all the exclusives had to be 4 playable as well. So it, like, hamstrung some of the games coming out on the PS5 because they had to be playable on the 4. That's just not how a new generation's supposed to work. But I digress. We can stop talking about PlayStation now because we're back for the first round of our semi-final here between the Goats and Pit Ponies. It is going to be bedroom again. No Doc this time, notably. The Doc coming out, a Kaid going in. But otherwise, things looking pretty similar.
5 seconds left.
It's pretty surprising that they weren't forced to stick to Doc, especially since the round, even though it didn't officially start, they were still committing to the Doc anyways. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I think we had, like, some issues before, you know. I think, like,
Gotcha.
under the circumstances, I think we call it, no one spawned in, and that's like the official start of the round, right? Technically, prep phase never began, but here we go. Got to deal with this external wall on the server first. No EMPs. No, there are EMPs on the sledge. So just running across to try and get the wall open. Taking a little bit of time to do so because they obviously spawned on the other side of the map. But now the X-Currows are put down. This should start to get open on up. Going for that wall along the bottom. But they haven't thrown a second EMP.
Yeah, that's just not... That's them not really recognizing, like, how Hibana works, because, of course, she's the slowest heart breacher in the game. If you do that with the Thermite, then, you know, that's completely fine. The Thermite will get that wall open in time, but because it's the Hibana instead, and they place, what, X-Kairos charges and a freaking charge next to the... What? What was the point of that? Anyways, Goats are having some really big issues with their heart breaching utility, and they can't get any of these walls open, apart from maybe Jacuzzi, because you have the Thermite next to the Jacuzzi breach, with that EMP working against the Kaid claw. So that is probably going to be the only wall that they open, because they don't really have anything else to deal with these Kaid claws apart from maybe jumping in and trying to shoot the Kaid claws themselves.
Sledge now rotating off, probably going back with balcony, but they haven't left anyone to contest onto CC. The shotgun shots coming through, but there's not enough going on. The second person swings out to peek it, but reverse gets a double for himself now. You do lose Zach, but can be picked up quite swiftly, and now the attack find themselves in that 5 vs 3 advantage. No feet holes along the gym wall either, so a real big opportunity here for the Goats to run on into gym if they want to try and push that advantage. Still quite a spread up line from the Pit Ponies. They're looking to try and push in through this breach as well. There's obviously that mirror window staring it down.
Ash charge goes in to crack the mirror window, flashes as well to go in too. Aggression enabled as well. Thermite jumps in through the breach and kills the bathroom player, despite the flashes coming in so earlier. Sweaty was right there, and he's not able to get a single pick to help his teammate out. Now that he's been dealt with, it's all left up to the mirror inside of construction, but Plant is going down and the Lion called a sticker into place. This is not looking good.
No, now they can get out as well. Managed to just thread the needle on that rotate and reversed. Peeking in through the window, gets a second kill in that doorway. A quad kill on the round to start things off for Goats exactly the way they would have wanted to. Apart from a little bit of a mishap with that breach over on CCTV, which nearly cost them massively, they did a good job at putting that pressure into sight.
Yeah, and, you know, kind of goes back to the talking point that you had at the beginning during the pre-show for the Goats, that they have a lot of good gunners on their team, and for Pit Ponies, they have to be very afraid of that. And I don't think Pit Ponies had like a really big issue with the way that they played that round. They locked off the CCTV and cash push. They aggressed onto the balcony when it was becoming real apparent that the Goats were going for a execute from balcony and Jacuzzi, but they just lost their gunfights against the better gunners for the Goats. And also the aggression from the Goats wasn't really left unchecked. Like Thermite going into bathroom when the Malusi was right on the construction doorway watching for the vault in, and there wasn't really, the pressure from the window wasn't really enough to help lock the Malusi down, and I felt like they could have done better with their positioning. Yes, but ultimately it's it's really just them not being able to win any really important gunfights against the Goats that sealed their deal in the very first round.
Going back for a similar sort of setup once again. All 5 operators remain the same. It'll be the way in which they try to use them. I'm hoping this time around we see from the Goats a little bit of a cleaner open on this initial wall. Again, you want them on the low ground. You want them on that deep hole so you can sit on the rappel and watch towards the feet of anyone who walks up to the CCTV window. They caught quite a lucky break with the Azami last time. Sorry, the Frost coming this time. But they're just going to go and shoot off the claw instead. That's just a lot easier.
Yeah, the Kaikal wasn't really well hidden. It was easily spotted out by the drone, and now you don't even have to worry about the mistimings between the EMPs and the X-Cairo pellets, so they get to open this wall up for free. And there's really nothing that the Pit Ponies can do about it. That's kind of funny, but at least for now they will get this wall open, allowing them an angle from the platform breach, which Duke is holding, in order to disable any aggression that comes in through servers on that highway window.
Surely no one will try and walk up this time. Breach already open as well, so really good pacing from the Goats the second time around. They've got that first round out the way. They've got everything in their mind for what they need to do, and now it's just ticking all those boxes much more efficiently. The mirror window inside of Bathroom gone as well now. They haven't got that opening pick, but everything else is falling into place around it.
Seems like they have Pit Ponies locked down in certain positions. You know, that you may see them go for an aggressive play inside a bathroom. Flashes go in, and it seems like the Thermite is ready to just jump right on in.
Spraying down into the foot of the mirror is able to get the kills. That's the opener going over to Gilbert. Has the diffuser as well, but this time there are footholds across Gym Bathroom, so a nice adaptation from the Pit Ponies and correcting that mistake from last time. A poorly thrown out Nitro, not gauging the distance, and shots coming from the rappel have thrown the Kite off. It's bought the space necessary for the Thermite to go for the plant, but going against the soft wall, you're going to take shots from the Frost. Now against the reinforcement in a much safer position, and there's no way for Homogeneous to try and recontest. The plant goes down as more flashbangs are shot through. Thermite takes a bold swing, but does get gunned down, reversed with a cover fire from the window outside, takes down one, gets the injure onto the Frost as well, narrowly misses the third, who's creeping up behind the mattress, spots them, and with the bearing 9, threads the needle to win a second round in a row.
And Pit Ponies not really in the greatest positions to help support one another. Mira dies for free, player from the breach just walks right on in, and it was a good adjustment to not have that wall be like incredibly open so that the Thermite can just jump right on in, making that gunfight against the mirror or against the player in the bathroom much harder for the Goats. But even then they still got that kill, and that kill means that they can just walk on in inside of Gym, because Pit Ponies aren't necessarily being aggressive enough to help one another in order to slow Goats down properly. Like, they bring the right utility to help slow them down, but it doesn't really feel like any of it's working, despite Goats not really bringing any counters to, say, the Malusi and whoever else that they've brought. Like, yeah, the Malusi and even the Azami, or even using anything that they have to counter any of that said utility.
And we're seeing the same sight for a third time in a row. I want to say not like this, Tracker. I want to say not like this, because you have other viable bomb sites. Yes, Gym and Bedroom is very popular, but it's not the only option. We have the basement. Arguably, the basement is the preferred bomb site for 90% of the player base, right? Like, surely this should be where you want to go at this point in time. A backwards mirror window from the Pit Ponies as well. I have to raise question marks at this.
I did too, because like Goats haven't really committed to like a logic hatch drop. Like, sure, they've opened up the hatch, but they haven't like dropped anyone down in there. You also don't really have enough insurance to ensure that the window behind you is going to get like directly is going to be protected. They didn't put a castle barricade there. They have no Azami available. So that mirror is just going to get easily popped, and almost the castle got popped from servers reinforcing the wall. Luckily for him, he runs away, he wastes some time, and that means that the Goats do have to waste some time of their own and resources in order to ensure that that wall gets open.
And again, you see that window in construction open up. You can no longer play the mirror window. Nothing like an Azami to try and protect you, even though it hasn't been banned. So now, what's the next steps? Well, it's shooting these Ash charges in, remove the castle barricade on Gym door, which will make Gilbert able to run through. Still the mirror window to contend with, because that is the first gone down, but you've now opened it up. The bandit can't trick. The wall will be opened.
That just gives Goats another angle to work with. The jacuzzi breach being open has been very problematic for Pit Ponies to stop once that entry does go in. And I mean, it seems like they're just kind of letting Goats set up yet again. This is something that happened last round, and Duke finds the very first kill off of the platform breach. Spirits trying to get aggressive over by Highway does not work, and the Pit Ponies are stuck once again in their positions.
Rotating now, I'm sure this is to get that breaching round onto the mirror windows. Reversed again from the highway windows, gets a kill. No support currently from the bandit to stop the breaching rounds firing on through onto the mirror window, so will take away the information. There's more flashbangs coming through to ensure the safety of the Ash as they go around. Nice little check of the drone hole to see if either a drone or maybe a foot was exposing itself, but they're standing in safety. A lot of damage being taken by Gilbert. I have to imagine that's from the bandit contesting from the staircase, so still doing a good job to lend support to the team. But so far, Gilbert's been able to get in on that mirror window. Backs out again, though. They're just waiting, want to rotate off, and instead looking to go for a bit more of a wraparound, it looks like. Gym window, jump in, going to be the option, especially with this control inside of construction. Reversed, does the jump in, gets the kill onto the Malusi, take down the contention as the bodies all fall to the ground, and the Goats are the only ones left standing on top of the rubble.
Yeah, honestly, you have to imagine that Pit Ponies will, like, change the please change the site. Like, okay, cache and CCTV. Not exactly what I meant, because the basement is still available, but it could be like a comfort thing. And I can't really imagine why, because basement is one of the most comfortable sites to defend on Clubhouse. Even if like the attack ends up getting all of the hatches open and certain positions established, it's still a very hard site to attack on Clubhouse. But going to cache and CCTV, a much more vulnerable site for the defense, doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And to be fair with you, like, Pit Ponies haven't really, when they've gone to gym and bedroom, haven't really changed much of anything. Everything that they've done, their positioning and all, has been very well telegraphed by Goats 99% of the time. So I can't imagine that there's going to be much differences with how they're going to hold cache and CCTV. They're putting the mirror in the same position even. This time, though, they will have the Azami being played to play inside of the Raptors position, as well as the Woman to play right next to her in R2. I would hope so. And that may just give some reprieve for them in terms of like time management, because Goats have been very quick and fast with their attacks.
I just appreciate that we're seeing something different, right? Yeah, you say basement is obviously a little bit stronger. Statistically speaking, I think based on like vibes or feel, most players would tend to agree with that as well. But I like what we're seeing coming out from them immediately. And again, you're bringing in the Azami, you got the ACOG on the slug shotgun. You can try and be a little bit cheeky from up on rafters and catch people off guard. Still leaning in towards, this sort of very standardized play. They got the Thermite, they got the Thatcher. They're going to be able to get this wall open quite swiftly because there's no one tricking on it.
Nobody actively tricking on it. Sophia not needed, and it's a fast push instead. 2 kills found for the Goats, and they've also dealt with the Raptors position just by way of aggression. No refrag until now from the Pit Ponies. That's Junko to find one, and the last player alive isn't even on site. It's Plastics inside of Logi on a mirror that's not even going to be remotely effective against this execute from the Goats.
The plant's going down, and you're just kind of stuck here at this point, right? It's a 1 versus 4. You can't really be expected to see this round through, especially now that a fuser's gone down. You get the first swing, and that's a wonderful kill onto ZK. 3 more to find. 1 is creeping at the top of red stairs, and Nitrocell being thrown into sight, but there's no one near it. They've backed well off. The Goats showing a lot of respect in this post-plant situation, recognizing that it's still losable if they don't play this out properly. Peeking out, you've got to look towards breach. That's where the sprays are coming from. It's on rappel, so it's just the head you're looking for. Doesn't see the head of the sledge, or the Thatcher even. Looks away, gets gunned down, and the Goats continuing a dominant trend.
Attacks have just looked really well put together from the Goats. They recognize a gap and they open up the platform wall almost immediately, are able to walk in, and the way that they play off of each other to ensure that like nobody dies by themselves, they're going to get an immediate trade off. Pit Ponies really have no chance in that round to defend cache and CCTV properly, neither. And there's no surprise that the Pit Ponies do have a tactical timeout in front of us, because these rounds just haven't really gone well at all on their defensive side here on Clubhouse.
Yeah, it's been a slow start, and I think part of that is due to running back the same site 3 times, right? We talk a lot about fixing your mistakes and noticing things that go wrong, and a big example of that is from round 1 to 2, right? They didn't have the fit holes in gym. They lose, they go, you know what, if we run this back, if we do our setup properly, maybe we stand a better chance. Okay, I can, first time, I can allow it. The second, it's still not looking good, and we saw the big pickup in the GOAT's performance from round 1 to round 2, right? They recognized a lot more of what they could change up in their own game in spite of having won the round. And I think that's been a really telling factor for why we're constantly seeing the GOATs push themselves higher and higher. And it all culminated in that last round with just a very quick aggressive play. They recognize the Pit Ponies aren't ready for it, and they want to jump on in and just get gunning, right? Just get involved in the fights.
Yeah, and a big issue that Pit Ponies had against their game and against the Red Kites, like I think it was last week. Time goes by very slowly sometimes, but yeah, it was last week against the Red Kites. And the biggest issue that they had was that like individual players aren't necessarily stepping up, or they're not really playing well off of each other to ensure immediate trades. And so far, that's been the case here against the GOATs. They haven't really looked close. The rounds haven't looked close at all. Refrag potential has not looked great, neither for the Pit Ponies, who, despite playing very close-knit sites, feel like they're playing very far away from each other at times, or not really in the best positions to support one another. And I mean, on basement here, I kind of like that they're peeking into basement now, but it's very late is the issue. And at least they do have somebody upstairs to try and waste some time in a run.
You just gotta hope it's not too late, right? I mean, 4 rounds on attack is already a very, very good half. You happily walk away with that, and you still got plenty of time to spare. Still spotting out the Electro Claw. They got to start from the beginning. Make sure they don't get too excited. Don't get too far ahead of themselves. They haven't brought EMPs, so dealing with the Kaid is going to be a little bit more tricky. But no tube around, so it's perfectly manageable. Use the cluster charge as well. That's really nice if it lands and takes it down, which it does.
Yep, hatch is going to get open once they use another set of X-Kairos on a hatch. But they still haven't really figured out that there's a player upstairs, and if he can play this right, i.e. if he can just apply enough pressure onto this first floor attack here from the GOATs, this can be a really big issue for them. Wait. What?
Oh, there's a Vigil. Hiding away inside a bar. Oh, look behind you. The Nook, looking at the wrong side of the doorway, gets taken down. Homogeneous. They'll now be deathly aware that he's running around this part of the map. But so far, no response from the GOATs. There is still the rappel angle outside on the cage. And that's going to be watching down towards this bathroom window. So it's about playing it slow, playing it patiently. But they're going to drop down sight with the Lion watching from behind to ensure their flank is safe. The plant's going down, and there's been no response from inside of sight. The Smoke done a perfect job at covering off the lines of sight to enable the plant to go down. Now, in this response situation, yes, a lot of damage dealt onto Habano, who will eventually fall. But Jaeger trying to get upstairs into kitchen has been felled by the Lion watching patiently. 30 seconds left on the clock now, and another scan comes through, revealing the location of 3 defenders, all trying desperately to retake, but walking out from dirt. Capital gets a double, finally shut down by Junko, but has to try and contend with the verticality. Both remaining players still above. The Echo, having done very little to assist the rest of the team in this situation, now has to try and figure out something to do. There's vert holes being made, a yokai positioned up in kitchen, but the pings aren't enough. The time's gone past 7. The round has gone through for the GOATs. They'll get a consolation kill onto Junko as well. Drop the hatch at the end of the timer just to celebrate. GOATs are unbeaten so far.
Very surprised that in that retake, Pit Ponies didn't really have any opportunities to try and go upstairs, or didn't take any opportunities to try and retake upstairs at the same time that they were going for a horizontal retake. Instead, they kind of just got, I think they got blindsided by that attack from the GOATs, who just dropped down, took advantage of the fact that there wasn't a warden by AKs to stop that execute coming in from the hatch using the smoke grenades, and it was also very good for the goats to recognize that, hey, look, they might be since they're very preoccupied with the horizontal retake, let's send somebody down dirt in order to further blindside them, and that's exactly what happens. Even though the goats did have a man disadvantage for a good chunk of that round with the pressure from the visual up above being ever so troubling, that retake was always going to be hard for pit ponies because of the vertical established and also the back push coming in from dirt, making everything really difficult.
And now it's a run back of basement, but look, we're 6 rounds in, they've gotten to play basement twice, and it was the latter end of their half. I mean, I'm really respecting what we're seeing from the goats, right? There's this quick, decisive decision-making where, oh, Vigil's roaming? We don't have to hunt him down. We've pinned him with the Lion, let's hit site. You know, this sort of, it's really good to see. It's very promising as well from the squad. But from the pit ponies, I feel like we're in the complete opposite. There's very little being done to assert their dominance in a round. Look at that post plant, for example, right? No one's really making that big play to try and secure it for themselves. You got the Vigil upstairs who is trying, right? Can I get into kitchen? Can I try and play for this hatch? But everyone else is sort of waiting on that play to be successful.
Yeah. Again, no attempt to retake up above neither. And this time around, pit ponies are not going to send a player up by himself to roam. Instead, everybody's just going to be full anchoring on site. My issue, though, is that if the same plant is attempted by the goats yet again, what do they have that's not a warden to ensure that the smoke plant isn't as effective as it was last time? And it may be playing the Valkyrie in a very erratic position on the third box, it seems, in the middle of the basement site. First floor control is established by the goats, and for right now, they are going to be ensuring that everything is cleared, not only around them, but above them.
Well, that's the first kill going over to the pit ponies, and a massive one to find. The Habana going down. Nearly the only form of hard breach. They do have a hard breach charge on the Deimos, but Ash sprinting across can take a little bit of damage, but still alive for the time being. Working now towards the bottom of main stairs as well. But Spirit able to get another kill. She adds to her score's lead. Yonk falling. Another goose slowing down Jackal's progress. So a much, much better start for the pit ponies here. Duke's finally going to get one back onto Junko, and they'll have to be a little bit more wary of presence around the back of Blue, but still holding onto site pretty comfortably for the time being.
Crossfires are going to make this very difficult to just walk down Blue, so as long as pit ponies don't get blindsided by what's happening behind them, they can also have at least 2 players focus around what's in front of them, but they give another pick away to Duke. Why are we aggressing into janitors? I mean, not into janitors, into generators, when we don't necessarily have that position established in the first place. Ooh.
Good kill. Puts them back on that advantage, but very swiftly getting knocked to 23. Ash puts out the goo, both inside of Jen, which swinging out again, and Duke gets a triple. The trade coming through, though, leaving Ash in a 1 versus 2. Zach, what can you muster up here?
Why?
You're swinging, you're prone, you get the kill. Kaid, around the back of the boxes, Nitro Cell used. There's a big opportunity now. Checks to the left. This is where Ash is creeping up. Isn't sure which side to go. The spray coming in from the right. Peeks back to the doorway on the left to meet the rotation from Zach. Got to be careful of the man count getting low. Both the way out to the pistol, but can't land it with the scope. The recoil just a little bit too high as we form a perfect silhouette of Ash against the lockers in the background. And Zach pulls off the 1v2 clutch.
I don't even know how that happened. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, originally it looked like pit ponies were actually playing well off of each other. They had good crossfires set up in the entry points from the goats, and then like a couple of mistimed swings, players doing things by themselves give away free picks to the goats, knowing that like these players are very good individually, and it's not based off of a rumor that you told in a pre-show, but also what we're seeing here today. I think Reverend is like, I don't even know how many kills Reverend has at this point. When I saw him in a round previous before he went for that dirt push, he was like 12-0. He got 2 picks, so he might have like over 14 kills at this point. 14 and 2, yeah. And so like it's just pit ponies kind of like being over aggressive at that point, something that, you know, they didn't really have an issue with in the previous rounds. In fact, it was their lack of inactivity that gave goats the initiative to go for aggressive gunfights, because they knew pit ponies were scared that time they just got a little bit too overzealous, and they were punished for it by the GOATs.
Which is a shame to see as well, right? Like, a team that we've been saying we want to see more activity from, more agency for their own game, and they finally do it, only to get kind of swatted away
Attackers must locate and defuse the
rather undignified, like, in response. So it shows that there's the life there. It shows that there is the opportunity, but we are looking down the back of a flawless attacking half. Going on to defense, it's starting out on cash, and this is the GOATS map. That is something to take away from this. Either way, it's not fantastic. As a flashbang thrown out early on into lounge, a second into stock as we're walking in. Catch yourself on it, not ideal. But making swift progress down below, now looking to try and break open some of this floor inside a cache as well, as you catch the Lega reversed, but no kill yet.
Also, because his door is cancelled off, and also because there's no footholds on the stage wall, he's pretty safe to continue his reign of terror from below, applying a lot of pressure to the defense. But what good is this if there's really no action from anybody else inside of the map here for Pit Ponies? You have somebody in Longy, but he's been down, and you have a second person here in Longy. You get the very first pick, Pit Ponies. That's very good, at least for your very first attack when you're 6-0 down. And I like the pressure that they're applying below, but they're also making an effort to pressure horizontally as well.
You can see Bjonk downstairs has to now just wait for the castle barricade to open on up. As a second kill on verticality, you're going through that crouch rotate at the top of red stairs. Well, guess what? Apple Sprout's watching it. Again, another big lead for the Pit Ponies, but it's how can they turn this into a round win that's been the struggle. No hard breach on this attack, so they can't open up any of these external walls. They're going to be forced either through a doorway, through server window. Zach gets the first kill in favor of the defense as Bravo falls down. There's still a mirror window staring at this doorway. They don't even need to use it. Just by standing behind the green box, they're able to mow down two, peeks down for the vert for another. Yes, Junko gets a retaliation pick. But it's now down to a 2 versus 2, and you rappel up to the breach. There's nothing here to see. They've been boxed out of their own sight, so despite that initial pressure, nothing's showing for it.
And honestly, they just don't really have enough utility neither to force their way inside of sight. Only 3 flashes. You really need to send somebody up red stairs as well. And what can help with that is flashes. Pit Ponies have kind of put themselves in a very difficult position despite this being a 2v2. 2 good gunners on the side of good on Goats, just watching the 2 entry points that they know Pit Ponies will go through.
Reversed for the triple kill. You know he's on this final doorway from construction as Zoto Canister's going to slow down his advance. One more still in the pocket, and it's going to be tossed on out. Prone angle being held with the DMR. Do you challenge it? You got to, but you're going to get taken down. Bonk for a double on the round as well. And that's going to be the end of map 1. A sweep from the Goats as they take the flawless victory. 7-0, 6 attacking round wins as well. Everything came up their way.
And honestly, talking about that last round, I mean, I don't really have an issue with I have an issue with them not bringing hard breach, but I also have a really big issue with them not bringing hard breach and then not really having enough utility to help force their way through. Not only we made a big deal about the Azami not being banned during Pit Pony's defensive half, but also the Ying wasn't banned either. So if you're going for a push like that, you really and you know your entry points are going to be very limited because you don't have anything to help get extra angles open. Why not bring more utility, Candelas, to help for other pushes? Why not send somebody up red at the same time while also having more utility to ensure that push is more effective? Either way, a very dominant map 1 performance from Goats that was capped off because of some very good individual performances.
Yeah, and with map 1 in the books, remember this is a best of 3, so Border up next. Can the Pit Ponies redeem themselves, right? This is their map pick. This should be their stomping grounds where they feel like they have control. But you'll have to find out after a very short break. We'll be right back with the action for map number 2 of our first semi-final, so we'll see you soon.
Mr. Pop. Eat. And the Lord, well, he made man, yes sir, and the man was happy. But the Lord wanted to test that man's strength, so he took that man's rib and he made his Eve. Yes, he did now. While a man was weak and woman was strong and seduced by the snake of temptation, she strayed and broke that man in twain. Just like you broke my heart and left me in sorrow and pain. And all I can say is intimately complicated. In your eyes I feel fixated, paralyzed from my eyes down. Sticks and stones will always break me, but it's you that suffocates me. Never fail to take my breath away. And I fall down at your feet. I feel incomplete. And I guess I'm stuck on you. Fuel to my fire, can't get any higher than you. Tears to my strip, well I can get a grip on you. Pain to my killer, honey, don't feel like you. Time to my cruise, baby, I'm a fool for you. Your temptation to my will, well you're my bitter little jagged pill. When we kiss, girl, I get so high, 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 high. Well, I'm a fool for your seduction. I got an appetite for your destruction. You broke my heart when you said goodbye. And I fall down at your feet. I feel incomplete. And I guess I'm stuck on you. Fuel to my fire, can't get any higher than you. Tears to my strip, well I can get a grip on you. Pain to my killer, honey, don't feel like you. Kind to my cruise, baby, I'm a fool for you. I'm swinging at you.
Hello and welcome back to Esports Wales. It's our semi-final. It's the Goats taking on the Pit Ponies. The Goats find themselves a map up after a landslide victory on Clubhouse. I'm Gomadu. I'm joined again by Chaka on my left. On my right.
Yes.
On my
On
right. I
right.
can.
On my right.
That was a
I
nice
was
try. It's always fun when it's like mirrored and you just have to like, you just try and guess. Like in theory, I could look at like the background and be like, oh, my lampshade's like there, and that would tell me, but I'm not that smart. So, but we have map 2 lined up. It is Border. We're almost ready to go. Chaka, do you have any thoughts on what like coming out of map number 1? Right, big victory, very aggressive plays from the Goats. Clubhouse was their pick. It's Pit Ponies who have elected Border, and I have to say, I never want to be the guy who's like, it's over before we've begun, because it isn't. It never is. But if you're stacking up the cards, right, you're stacking up the pros and cons list here. I'm like, the Goats are starting to creep ahead a little bit in my expectations.
Yeah, not only were they very good at like being aggressive at like the right moments, getting very good value off of taking individual gunfights and all that stuff, but like their attacks actually had like plans, barring like what we saw in the very first round with the EMP mishaps and the Habana, like them not recognizing that the Habana just takes a while to get started, or even like placing a breaching charge and Habana pellets on the same hatch. That was like really weird. Other than that, like some of their attacks had like really good executes. Like, the one main round that I can highlight was the basement round, where they went for that smoke hatch plant because they realized that there wasn't a warden on site to help counter that, and they just caused a lot of chaos in the end. They went for back pushes. They had alternative ways to push that pit ponies couldn't really get a handle on, and pit ponies were quite repetitive in the very first
Yeah.
map, which was very easy to read into from a team as good as the Ghosts. And so if we go onto Border, a map that tends to be very repetitive, I don't see this going very well at all for the pit ponies.
The Pit Ponies starting out on attack this time around as well. They got that first defensive half on Clubhouse, and with it being their map pick, the Goats have elected to start inside the building. They're going to be the ones hunkering down, and I think that puts a little bit more pressure on you as the Pit Ponies, right? You're coming in a map down. Obviously, it's your map pick, but you have to be the ones to get in, try and set this pace very early on. And on a map like Border, you know, there's an off. I've joked in the past on certain casts where we say, "Oh, if you make it to the building, you'll win as the attack. If you can't, well, you're dead before you get there. You've been gunned down by the spawn kills." And it's obviously a little tongue in cheek. It's a little exaggerated, but it can sometimes come across that way. And with a very similar ban list coming out, it's the Dokkaebi, it's the Monty. I mean, that Monty's a great tool to be able to actually close that gap from the spawn, right? You are going to be battling from minute one, and we need to see the Pit Ponies bring some sort of energy to get up to that building and start really showing their confidence in map number 2 from right in round 1.
Yeah, something that was really quite effective against the pit ponies that relates to the attack was the lion, and I'm surprised to not see him banned out here on a small map like Border when the pit ponies really couldn't work around the lion all that well, and they couldn't get a handle on the aggression from the goats, specifically because the lion calls kept them in place and allowed goats to reposition themselves to get into more advantageous positions for aggressive gunfights. Instead, banning out the Monty, and like you said, even though the Monty is in a very good spot right now and he's pretty annoying to play against, I would expect someone like the Pit Ponies to maybe try and play into him inside of Border, because they did have the last laugh on this ban, and they could have just left him up just to have more of a help going
Yeah.
into their attacks here on Border.
Yeah, they could have done. You still got obviously the Blitz if you want to play that shield. You could even flex a Fuse shield if you really fancied it, but I think that's going to be a bit unnecessary. I think this is an indication that Pit Ponies don't want to play shields, and that Monty is obviously the most threatening of them now with the ability to, well, he can sprint, right? Like, he's as rapid as Blitz, but still as safe as he used to be. It's certainly a good character. Opening up some holes now in the wall from CCTV, looking out onto the balcony. And this is pretty cool to see, right? It's quite a creative way to try and challenge anyone who tries to walk up to play for that armory breach. We've seen a little bit more priority come through in recent years on instead of it's all about that armory breach, we shift our focus a little bit more. It's getting that east stairs, it's getting that CCTV control, just because it's very important for getting that sort of start to your round, for control over 90. But you want to push for office now as well. You want to limit the Goats' sort of space they can play in as much as possible before hitting the site itself, because the map is so small. Why not take advantage of that and peel away any freedom?
It's also interesting to line up here for the Pit Ponies. Instead of bringing ranged hard breach like a Habana or an Ace, they opt in for the Thermite, which is more up close and personal. And on a map like Border, where there's plenty of runouts, like we just saw very early on here for the Goats, going for a ranged hard breach is just the safer option. And bringing the Thermite means that you are just going to have to clear more space to ensure that the Thermite is actually effective and doesn't die.
Well, first kill going over to Junko, able to take down Zax, so there's an alibi off the table, and lots of presence downstairs. Reverse now creeping back through this space, spots the opening made by the Buck. Does he catch out the rotation as well? Looks at the hole, will hear the Skeleton Key ripping away the ceiling above, walks around and gets the kill onto Spirit, ready for the second, onto Junko as well, so that early advantage ripped away from the Pit Ponies.
Yeah, Jonko just didn't have his gun up when he went for that re-swing, and doesn't really have he wasn't necessarily prepared to trade that quickly. Reverse gets 2 down below. That immediately takes a lot of pressure away from the defense, and not only does it take a lot of pressure away from the site players, but it also takes a lot of pressure away from the player playing inside of security too.
The kill now onto Flastix. They're just shoring up CCTV, even more keepers being deployed just to make sure you can't root them out of position as they sit back and wait. A minute still to play in the round, so very doable for McApple, Sprout, and Homogeneous if they want to try and push this advantage. It's no explosives left, but doesn't turn around to look at Reversed, who's on for the quad, spots the Claymore, gets it with the Bailiff, swaps back to the P90, and hip fires for the ace. I mean, incredible stuff, dances around the Claymore, but that's a world tour. Walking all around the map, collecting kills as you go, little trinkets to remember your journey.
An electric first round from the GOATs, specifically only from one player that was Reversed, having an ace in the very first round. Coming off of a very good performance from Map 1. I think he got like 17 kills from Map 1, so obviously an insane record. Probably trying to set a best of 3 kill record here today in the Esports Welsh League. Overall, a very poor first round for Pit Ponies, all things considered. They just didn't really have a handle on their flanks. Not really enough info as well on Reverend's position, despite going for very exposed positions, like going for soft breach down below, having somebody play in break room when you know there's multiple different flank points that can happen. There's a soft wall right next to you. There's a soft wall right behind you. Somebody could creep in from the east side balcony. Somebody could just run in from the doorway. It didn't really seem like Pit Ponies had the necessary information on what was going on around them. And so you have someone like Reversed who's like very aggressive, and if he gets those openings, he's going to take them.
And that's a really ideal start for the GOATs. Obviously, you get to curb that early aggression, but we saw it from the Pit Ponies. They got in, they took the gunfights, they did what we were asking for. Nothing else they could do. Immediately swatted away. Another round, another start. Going to bring the Ram this time as well. Now they know it's not going to be a top floor bomb site. Obviously with the GOATs winning it out, you want to have that verticality and rocking that gorgeous wildcard skin at the same time. I have to say, I'm obsessed with the operator card because it's like a Pokemon card. It looks really cool. What have you spotted out?
Nothing. I was agreeing with you, kind of. I mean, there's no better card than the Ferex one with the kittens. Sorry.
Wrong.
All right. You just hate cats, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm a dog person more so. I think cats are cool. Hence the phrase "cool cats." But I'm more of a dog person.
It does seem like Pit Ponies, though, they've entered the map as quickly as we've exited that conversation because you hate cats. And it seems like, for the most part, the rest of the ghosts just aren't going to aggress on the top floor. They've completely fallen off. And, I mean, that's going to waste some time from Pit Ponies, who, in the previous round, had very big issues with their information gathering tools. They're not going to really understand that these are as clear, and they've already used some utility in the process. First kill goes in favor of the ghosts, and that immediately takes a Pit Ponies player off of the board. The Ram is gone. Your soft breach is crippled, but you at least still have the buck on the board in order to at least complete a good brunt of it.
But again, still spending so much time trying to drone, trying to gather that information, and you've lost the Ram, so your ability to rip up on the floor, like you mentioned, much lower. Still sitting back, and again, the way the GOATs have positioned themselves, they're extended all across this bottom floor. They've got players in Passport, players in Workshop, and they're still trying to find a way to deal with that. A minute left on the clock now, and still looking for a first pick in favor of the attack.
Just wasting a lot of time as well. No information for the soft vert neither. I'm imagining that the mute jammers are being quite effective in slowing down the information gathering. And because it's a bathroom teller site, these long horizontal angles are going to pose a big issue for them when they just try and walk in from these doors, from these windows that are casted off. Despite them having a sledge, they haven't dealt with these castle barricades.
Quick fight, Reversed gets the pick again as things start to fall into place for the defense, but a quick trade furthering the agenda now slows down. One going back and forth either way. Plastics in a bit of a tough spot. You know they're looking at your window as Junko is able to take down Zach, start peeling through into Workshop. There's only 7 seconds left on the clock, and the Nomad has the case, has to jump on in, is taken down Vi reversed, and the Buck might not die, but they're not going to win the round for their team, and the defense just hold on yet again, time and time again.
Lose on time. Like, they took so long trying to ensure that the rest of the top floor was clear. They also used some utility in the process. They tried to make something work from the vertical angles, but again, no real information to help make the vertical angles as effective. And they also just didn't really work off any of the site utility in the process. So then when it came time to now go for an execute, they didn't deal with the castle barricade on the default plant spot on the window. They also didn't really deal with the other castle barricade that existed on the double door looking straight towards customs. They also didn't deal with the second castle barricade on the Telus window. They only dealt with one, and that was the only angle that they had to work with when it came to walking inside of sight. So just again, not really the best of rounds to go off of from Pit Ponies. It wasn't really the direction that was bad, it was just how they went about it.
Yeah, and again, we're just seeing this difficulty with closing out rounds, right? They can get an opening pick, they can storm into the building, and I commend them for the confidence in which they're doing that. It's exactly what we're talking about in the pregame for what we wanted to see. Jump into the building, take gunfights, and they've gotten an opening pick now. But there's no way for them to hold on to that lead. They don't have the efficiency at moving through the map, and that time gets very, very low. They haven't dealt with Workshop, they haven't dealt with Passport, and all of that starts to bubble to the surface. I don't even know what the fix is, right? There's no quick fix for this. It's just they have to have a bit of a discussion about how they're going to prioritize, just make sure they're always on the move. They want to be safe. You have to ride that line in Siege. You have to figure out how much safety can we trade off to make sure that we're keeping our pace.
Yeah, I mean, also their drone count isn't necessarily low neither, and the Mute has been picked every single round thus far from the GOATs, so I'm assuming that the Mute Jammers are just being very effective against them, and there's a simple fix for that, just bring EMPs. Whether that be impacts or whether that just be a Thatcher, and Pit Ponies haven't really brought anything to ensure that their drones are effective in these rounds. Information has been a really big issue for them throughout these whole rounds, and it's been one of the many reasons why they've slowed down so much, but also why they're allowing gaps to be exploited from their flanks. And so now droning themselves in, the entry game isn't quicker at all, but at least they get themselves inside of the map, and they brought the Ying as well.
Peeking down, again, sweeping this top floor pretty swiftly, but that wasn't the issue. It was how do you get downstairs with this control that you've now established for yourself. Still players inside of Armory, who will hang around for a couple seconds, will try to cause them some problems. Barbed wire in the way to slow down your entry through Archives. Just creep on in. We can see those silhouettes, of course. Wall hack's not allowed, so you'll peep over the top, and it's reversed to get yet another kill. Duke dealing with the pressure coming in from the Armory wall, but there's players on both sides of them now. Hatch open for their escape when they want to. A flashbang flying over, pay with a finger boost to try and give them that extra stability, that extra HP. An aggressive push by the Mute on the doorway, the flashbang landing on all three.
Oh,
there should be a lineup, but they pre-fire and get him down in spite of the utility usage. One already now behind the desk inside of Archives, as the flank from 90 has been caught out. A couple sprays, only catching a teammate, but thankfully no damage dealt. Alda spraying through the wall as he gets a kill as well. Bonk. How? How are you allowed to do this? The rapid swing leads to a trade, a double spray in fact, but Gilbert right behind them finishes off the round.
Yeah, and again, GOATs don't necessarily need to get really aggressive. Pit Ponies, to be fair, in that round, GOATs had plenty of information working for them, even though they were all like cramped up inside of lockers. And originally, I thought that was gonna be like a really bad thing because they're all just cramped up with each other. They have really nowhere else to go. It didn't seem like they had much of a fallback plan with the hatches being closed off. They still had plenty of good information on the entry points for Pit Ponies. The Archives push that originally could have been a weak point for them. They had a proximity alarm on a doorway from Fountain for that, and the Ying didn't know what that proximity alarm was. She also didn't know what was happening around the locker's position, and again, I don't really think this time I don't think it's the mute jammers because the mute jammers were on the wall. So I just don't think pit ponies are droning themselves in properly, and they don't really have any information to help these entries be effective. Ying couldn't use any of her utility because she had no information behind the Ying Cadellas. Again, it's kind of like the same issues over and over and over again, and it's going to continue being exploited by the GOATs who have very good fraggers on their teams. You give them an inch, they'll go the extra mile, and so far, they're winning this whole goddamn marathon.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
The perfect sweep back to Armory. Then we can't have another 7-0. Checker, we can't see another pit ponies. They have to find a way to try and win themselves around. They brought the Thermite back, trying to play for that hard breach, but it's breaking CCTV that we need to see happen. And again, they've only got, what, a Gon 6 from Zero and nades from Sledge to try and remove these Keepers, which have clearly been what's causing them issues, right? They can walk into break, but it's winning that gunfight afterwards to confirm their control as Reverse continues to just be reversed, man. To just have such freedom in this series. Walks up east, gets a double kill. 0 questions asked.
Yep, I mean, the drone was there as well, so information better that time around for pit ponies. Not able to get the trade out because they're not able to win the gunfight against Reverend, who's just more prepared to take the fight than the 2 pit ponies on the top east were. And so you're in a very tough position. Keep the barriers be damned. There's just no real way that you're going to make it past this desk with the crossfire established on top east, and that's exactly what happened. ZK finds a second. Last player alive is a Thermite, and you don't want a Thermite in this position at all.
Yeah, it's certainly not ideal. I mean, what do you even do here, right? Like, there's no way for you to clear these Keepers. I say that as his army's going to be running outside to find you. The Air Jab doing a good job on the first set and lining up to get the kill onto Reversed. I'll take it all back, McApple Sprout. Please keep going. 3 left to find. Spray through the wall onto 90 just to try and see if anyone's hiding in the corner. A drone. And there's plenty of time as well. Still a minute 10. This is... Are we on for the cards for an ace clutch? I mean, I don't want to say it's impossible.
It looks like GOATs are playing further back. They're reinforcing walls, further locking down the site, thus meaning that the entry points here and kill opportunities for the last player alive of McApple Sprout is very limited. And so now the only thing that he can do is just try to walk through a doorway, because there's, I mean, unless you can get one of these wall open that's not mute jammered. Other than that, like, there's really no way that he wins this round. And it looks like they're going for a triple flank up east. That's what it looks like. All of them playing down below. They have the information to aid this with the pulse.
Oh no, there we
And
go.
yeah, that makes sense.
Line it up, wait patiently, take the final kill, and that's a good way to guarantee you don't let a very comfortable lead slip through your fingers. You just make sure you don't even take a gunfight on the last, you play the utility, you play for the nitro cells, a perfect demonstration of where Pulse excels. 4-0, the lead starting to creep further and further away. It's just finishing the round. It's just... They struggle sometimes into this overwhelming utility, and I really feel bad for the pit ponies because we've seen it, right? When they get in, when they get that opening gunfight, they look good. But finding a second, when there's not a straggler to go, working the pick for themselves has been a struggle.
Locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Yeah. And honestly, at times they're just not really bringing, like, the correct tools for the job. Like, that last round, like you mentioned, they're trying to go for a security clear. They're going for a security take with the Azami there. The only thing they have for the Kiba barriers are frag grenades and a Gon 6. This time around, they will be bringing the Flores drones. There is no Azami, but you do have the castle to try and work around with these Flores drones to be slightly more effective in removing a lot of safety points that the defense can play around. And at least, instead of depending on the Sledge to do it way later on, you can at least send the Flores drones in early in order to remove these castle barricades, so that when you do try and go for an execute, even if you don't really have that much of an advantage, your entry into site is made much more easier.
Okay, Flores. What can we find with the utility? There's a decent bit to get, right? But the mute jammer,
Oh, it's
that's going to be a
muted,
problem.
right?
That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate, especially because you try and jump it in. If you can catch that radius outside, obviously it's going to work for you. But the moment, even if you start detonating it first, it hits the mute jammer, it will turn off. It gets detonating again if the mute jammer is dealt with. EMP being used to make sure they get a bit of the tension wall open, but reversal tucked around the corner, and it's not a very big opening. You try and peek up to it, I feel like things are going to go quite badly for you, as a lot of damage is dealt onto the Thatcher. They get some back onto reverse in exchange. He's now been injured on out as a Nitro Cell. It comes flying out. That's a confirmed kill. That's a confirmed double, because they tried to go for the pickup. The rest of the teams died outside main door as well. Homogeneous tucked into ventilation is the last one alive. It's a 1 vs 5 for a second time in a row, Chaka.
And really, at least the only saving grace that he has in this 1v5 is that the walls are reinforced right next to him. They don't really know where he is. He has an opportunity to find a second, but absolutely not. Goats close it out on their defenses, and I believe that is a 6-0 flawless half for them. No, it isn't. It's 5-0. It's almost a 6-0 for the Goats. I just can't count. But irregardless of that, I'm very surprised that Pit Pony's on that initial take through the tension when the Flores was having really big issues with getting his Flores drone through towards the soda machine window. I was very surprised that they didn't have a big rotation from the Thatcher after getting that wall open into customs or in detention, rotating him to help the Flores out in order to get things done quicker. Instead, they kind of force an entry through in detention when it wasn't working initially, when they didn't find that very first frag. Instead, they could have just used it as an initial pressure point, apply more pressure to the defense, and then maybe send somebody else on later when they are going for an execute. That was my thought process with it when they did get it open initially, but they kept trying to force their way in. And eventually the Goats just kind of aggress from there and outgun the Pit Ponies.
And, we got to give our credit to Goats, right, as well. They haven't dropped a map yet. They're on a 12-round win streak, and that's for a reason. They have been phenomenal at just finishing off rounds, and especially now that we come onto this defensive half on Border, I say, since the start of Border. The thing that they've been doing that has really pushed them over the edge, right? What led them to excel here is that they are ready at every entrance into the building. And that's given them a massive amount of potential in limiting movement from its ponies. We've seen a couple times they've snuck into the building down on the bottom floor when we've been seeing this armory defense, and it's by jumping into tellers. And that's a very common entry approach to try and get in downstairs, especially on an operator like a Buck who can rip open the floor. But it's always met so well by Goats who have a double rotation coming through. We've seen a lot. It's been reverse getting the picks. But it's not just because of his movement, it's because of the contention from above that is leading to this uncertainty from the Pit Ponies. They're now going to try and burn out and rush into Vent's window, pop it open with the Vendetta, but you're tucked around the corner on the alibi. That's going to make it hard as the floor gets ripped open. Gilbert takes down Apple Sprout from the stock window as well. That's your main door pressure alleviated. Reversed on the angle from above. Takes down Spirit, who was trying to throw her nade in from below the window. The ROIs are going to fly on through. The smokes, the candelas, everything is going to rip. But Alibi tucked down underneath. You see the hat. You get meleeed as you jump on through. Reverse on the cover from above. Homogeneous gets one onto Bonk. That's on the complete opposite side of the map. You're opening up the rotation into Bathroom as well, but it's swiftly going to be met. Gilbert sprays down into the window, gets the kill needed to see another round home. And now, Checker, now you can say it. Now you can say we got the flawless half.
And honestly, that execute idea with the operator lineup that Pit Ponies had wasn't necessarily a bad idea. You have the Ying, Warden is banned. You also had the Sins in that round 2 alongside the Ying. And really the only thing that the Goats had to counter any of that utility was the Warden up above. And the Pit Ponies never really had an idea of what they wanted to do with it. Not sending in somebody from the armory balcony to apply more pressure. Maybe even sending the Ying up above through the sandwich window to throw some candelas over the top of the lockers towards half wall. in order to make that push more effective and apply more pressure to the Wamai sitting up above. There was really nothing to ensure from that execute that it was going to succeed in the first place, because they didn't really have like a checklist of things to do. They just kind of went for it, and the goats close it out really convincingly. And now going on to the favorite side of Border on the attack, you have to imagine that this is going to be another 7-0, and that the goats will close it out here unless the pit ponies have something to say about it.
Defensive lineup. Again, pretty interesting to see that there is no bulletproof camera, which, for me, I see that Warden ban. That has to be your first thought. You'll look at the lineup coming in from the goats. You know what's going to happen. It's a blitz. It's a ying. It's a glaz. And you got the smokes in the pocket of the gridlock. I'd be willing to bet on it. Looks like it. Someone's got nades. Either the gridlock or the glaz. One of them is rocking the nades. But everyone else, it is the gridlock. Everyone else is ready. Amaru in through a sandwich window, perhaps. Maybe up onto Armory balcony, but either way, it's gonna be a very quick end to the round. Whether Pit Ponies can weather the storm or not, we'll have to see. They're lining it up. I like seeing that they're not taking as much time as they're just running on in. The Blitz forcing activity. Ying's got the diffuser, gonna jump on through. Echo gets killed by the Gara hook through the window. The shotgun for Zach running through sight. Can't make it a third as Applesprout takes him down, but it's a post plant to play. You're not going to have any success running up round the corner like that. Two left. Azami and Mira, the sprays coming at the blitz, but no damage dealt. The shield eating all the aggression, looking, just begging for a kill down into Archives. Gets the one, quickly traded out. The goats have had a flawless evening, Chaka. They have not stumbled once. It's a 7-0, 7-0, 2-0 close to the series to see the goats going through to our grand finals.
And honestly, I don't know if it's related to good information or just like right place, right time, but that was a very good rush because of the fact that like pit ponies didn't really have players in the correct position, and also not enough utility on the archive site to stop that rush from happening. If you pay attention to any of the positioning from pit ponies, they had no nitro soul behind the desk and archives to throw over the top to stop that push coming in from the archives door, and the only thing they had to stop that push was an echo drone. Reminder, Warden was banned and smokes were used, but nothing to really counter the smoke play. And also the nitro cell by the end of that round was still in the back pocket of the mirror too. So a very well executed push from the Ghosts that pit ponies weren't necessarily expecting. And that was very obvious because players just were not in a correct position.
It's unfortunate as well, right? Echo has the yokai. The smokes are in deep, so you have the opportunity. You can see the Ying. We see you running for the corner, and then you die. And you're thinking, what's happened? It was from the Gara hook.
The back push.
You're planting, or you're on your drone underneath the window. You're caught off by the rappel in, and that's what kills you.
He kicks
He kicks him in the back of the head. He's gone down. He crumples to the floor. The yokai can't do anything at that point. Unfortunate, really tragic way to go down. And the pit ponies, look, we talked about this in the last week. It was going to be a difficult semi-final for them to get. Not being able to win that final game of the groups that they needed to last week to give them that first seed makes the path a lot harder. As, you see the Red Kites, who obviously came top of Group B. They're playing the Wolfhounds. We don't have the result from that game just yet, but that has been played off-stream. This is our only game for you this evening. The Goats lock their spots in the grand final, and I think you have to say after this, if they weren't before, they're your favourites. Locked in, set down. It's going to be hard for anyone to take this title away from them.
Yeah, and I imagine that if the Red Kites end up winning their game and they play against Goats in the grand finals, that's going to be an exciting one to watch because the Red Kites also have like some good coordination themselves, some good attacking ideas too, and their gunplay is nothing to scoff at. But it seems like when you have somebody like Reverse who's just floating, I mean, like, how many kills did he get in the second map? First map was 17. Second map it had to have been like at least close to like 15, 16 or something like that. Like
a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. That's absolutely ridiculous. And that doesn't really help your confidence if you are to pit ponies. A dominating 2-0 loss, 14-0, like it's not really the best day, but I mean, you go into this match, you're probably thinking this isn't going to be a match that you're going to win. And so maybe that was their thought process going into today, and maybe they weren't necessarily trying as hard as they should have, but overall, a very good match from the GOATs that was capped off by a very dominating win.
Yeah, and they'll be really pleased to get that going into the grand final, which will be next Tuesday. It will be next week. So 18 kills is a call that we've had
Second
on
map.
map 2.
Really? Wow.
18 kills. So that is 17 into 18, 35 across the series?
Quick math, that's actually correct. I used a calculator for that.
In 14 rounds. 35 kills.
And his death count wasn't even high neither. I think he was like 17-2 on the first map, and then like 18-2 on the second map too. So like,
Well, that's like a 2.7, 2.8 KD.
that's crazy.
Mental. But I guess we'll have to see if Reverse can keep that level of performance going into next week. If you can turn up in a final and drop 35, there's no way you lose a title, right? There's no way you could possibly lose a series going that hard. But we will be back next week for the final. So please, tune in. You want to show the support for R6. Pit Ponies, they have a chance to come back next season, right? They'll have their spot. It's franchised. The Ponies will return. I'd like to see some of these players return as well, right? I think we saw some potential. Some good games. Red Kites last week was obviously a much better showing for them against, I think, a team that was a little bit closer to their level. But until then, until next season, that is it for the Pit Ponies. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Chaka, for joining me. Massive thanks to Nanos and to Arc Rhythm behind the scenes, running the show, making sure that we can bring you all the entertainment. We will see you next week. Have yourself a lovely evening. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Said I was just a stupid bitch.